Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 11. And the king of Mitzrayim gathered together a great host, like the sand that lies upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexander's kingdom, and join it to his own. Whereupon he took his journey into Spain in peaceable manner, so as they of the cities opened unto him and met him, for King Alexander had commanded them so to do, because he was his brother-in-law. Now as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. And when he came near to Ashdod, they showed him the temple of Dagon that was burnt, and Ashdod and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed, and the bodies that were cast abroad, and them that he had burnt in the battle, for they had made heaps of them by the way where he should pass. Also they told the king whatsoever Jonathan had done, to the intent he might blame him. But the king held his peace. Then Jonathan met the king with great pomp at Yaffo, where they saluted one another and lodged. Afterward Jonathan, when he had gone with the king to the river called Eleutheris, returned again to Jerusalem. King Ptolemy therefore, having gotten the dominion of the cities by the sea into Seleucia, upon the seacoast, imagined wicked counsels against Alexander. Whereupon he sent ambassadors unto King Demetrius, saying, Come, let us make a league betwixt us, and I will give you my daughter whom Alexander has, and you shall reign in your father's kingdom. For I repent that I gave my daughter unto him, for he sought to slay me. Thus did he slander him, because he was desirous of his kingdom. Wherefore he took his daughter from him, and gave her to Demetrius, and forsook Alexander, so that their hatred was openly known. Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia and of Mitzrayim. In the mean season was King Alexander of Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him. But when Alexander heard of this, he came to war against him. Whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his hosts, and met him with a mighty power, and put him to flight. So Alexander fled into Arav, there to be defended, but King Ptolemy was exalted. For Zabdiel, the Aravi, took off Alexander's head and set it unto Ptolemy. King Ptolemy also died the 3rd day after, and they that were in the strongholds were slain one of another. By this means Demetrius reigned in the 167th year. At the same time Jonathan gathered together them that were in Yehuda, to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, and he made many engines of war against it. Then came wicked persons, who hated their own people, went unto the king, and told him that Jonathan besieged the tower. Whereof when he heard, he was angry, and immediately removing, he came to Akko, and wrote unto Jonathan, that he should not lay siege to the tower, but come and speak with him at Akko in great haste. Nevertheless, Jonathan, when he heard this, commanded to besiege it still, and he chose certain of the elders of Yasharel, and the priests to put himself in peril, and took silver and gold, and raiment, and divers presents besides, and went to Akko unto the king, where he found favor in his sight. And though certain wicked men of the people had made complaints against him, yet the king entreated him as his predecessors had done before, and promoted him in the sight of all his friends, and confirmed him in the high priesthood and in all the honors that he had before, and gave him preeminence among his chief friends. Then Jonathan desired the king that he would make Yehuda free from tribute, as also the 3 governments, with the country of Shomeron, and he promised him 300 talents. So the king consented, and wrote Sepharim unto Jonathan of all these things after this manner. King Demetrius unto his brother Jonathan, and unto the nation Yahudim, and unto the nation of the Yahudim sends greeting. We send you here a copy of the Cefer, which we did write our cousin Lastinus concerning you, that ye might see it. King Demetrius unto his father Lastinus sends greeting. We are determined to do good to the people of Yahudim, who are our friends, and keep covenants with us, because of their goodwill toward us. Wherefore we have ratified unto them borders of Yehuda, with the 3 governments of Aphekah, Lod, and Ramah, that are added unto Yehuda from the country of Shomeron, and all things appertaining unto them, for all such as do sacrifice in Jerusalem, instead of the payments which the king received of them yearly aforetime, out of the fruits of the earth and of the trees. And as for other things that belong to us, of the tithes and the customs pertaining to us, as also the salt pits and the crown taxes which are due unto us, we discharge them of them all for their relief. And nothing hereof shall be revoked from this time forth forever. Now therefore see that you make a copy of these things, and let it be delivered unto Jonathan, and set upon the holy mount in a conspicuous place. After this, when King Demetrius saw that the land was quiet before him, and that no resistance was made against him, he sent away all his forces, every one to his own place, except certain bands of strangers, whom he had gathered from the isles of the heathen. Wherefore all the forces of his fathers hated him. Moreover, there was one of Tryphon, that had been of Alexander's part afore, who, seeing that all the host murmured against Demetrius, went to Simoku the Aravi, that brought up Antiochus, the young son of Alexander. and lay sore upon him to deliver him this young Antiochus, that he might reign in his father's stead. He told him therefore all that Demetrius had done, and how his men of war were at enmity with him, and there he remained a long season. In the meantime Jonathan sent unto King Demetrius that he would cast those of the tower out of Jerusalem, and those also in the fortresses, for they fought against Yasharel. So Demetrius sent unto Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for you and your people, but I will greatly honor you and your nation, if opportunity serve. Now therefore you shall do well, if you send me men to help me, for all my forces are gone from me. Upon this Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch. And when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. Howbeit that they were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city, to the number of 120,000 men, would have slain the king. Wherefore the king fled into the court, but they of the city kept the passages of the city, and began to fight. Then the king called to the Yahudim for help, who came unto him at all once, and dispersing themselves through the city, slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000. Also they set fire on the city, and got many spoils that day, and delivered the king. So when they of the city saw that the Yahudim had got the city as they would, their courage was abated. Wherefore they made supplication to the king, and cried, saying, Grant us peace, and let the Yahudim cease from assaulting us in the city. With that they cast away their weapons, and made peace. And the Yahudim were honored in the sight of the king, and in the sight of all that were in his realm. And they returned to Jerusalem, having great spoils. So King Demetrius sat on the throne of his kingdom, and the land was quiet before him. Nevertheless he disassembled in all that he ever spoke, and estranged himself from Jonathan. Neither rewarded he him according to the benefits which he had received of him, but troubled him very sore. After this returned Tryphon, and with him the young child Antiochus, who reigned and was crowned. Then there gathered unto him all men of war whom Demetrius had put away, and they fought against Demetrius, who turned his back and fled. Moreover Tryphon took the elephants and won Antioch. At that time young Antiochus wrote unto Jonathan, saying, I confirm you in the high priesthood, and appoint you ruler over the 4 governments, and to be one of the king's friends. Upon this he sent him golden vessels to be served in, and gave him leave to drink gold, and to be clothed in purple, and to wear golden buckle. His brother Shimon also he made captain from the place called the Ladder of Sor, unto the borders of Mitzrayim. Then Jonathan went forth and passed through the cities beyond the water, and all the forces of Aram gathered themselves unto him for to help him. And when he came to Ashkelon, they of the city met him honorably, from whence he went into Gaza, but they at Gaza shut him out. Wherefore he laid siege unto it, and burned the suburbs thereof with fire, and spoiled them. Afterward, when they of Gaza made supplication unto Jonathan, he made peace with them, and took the sons of their chief men for hostages, and sent them to Jerusalem, and passed through the country unto Damascus. Now when Jonathan heard that Demetrius' princes were come to Kadesh, which is in Galilee, with a great power, purposing to remove him out of the country, he went to meet them, and left Shimon his brother in the country. Then Shimon encamped against Beit Sura, and fought against it a long season, and shut it up. But they desired to have peace with them, which he granted them, and then put them out from thence, and took the city, and set a garrison in it. As for Jonathan and his hosts, they pitched at the water of Kinneroth, from whence early in the morning they got them in the plain of Katsor. And behold, the host of strangers met them in the plain, who, having laid men in ambush for him in the mountains, came themselves over against him. So when they that lay in ambush rose out of their places, and joined the battle, all that were of Jehonathan's side fled, so much so as there was not one of them left, except Mattathiah the son of Avshalom, and Yehuda the son of Calphi, the captains of the host. Then Jonathan rent his clothes, and cast earth upon his head, and prayed. Afterwards turning again to battle, he put them to flight, and so they ran away. Now when his own men that were fled saw this, they turned again unto him, and with him pursued them to Kadesh, even unto their own tents, and there they camped. So there were slain of the heathen that day about 3,000 men. But Jonathan returned to Jerusalem. Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 12. Now when Jonathan saw that time served him, he chose certain men and sent them to Rome, for to confirm and renew the friendship that they had with them. He sent Cefer also to the Lacedaemonians, and to other places for the same purpose. So they went unto Rome, and entered in the Senate, and said, Jonathan the high priest, and the people of the Yahudim send us unto you, to the end you should renew the friendship which you had with them, and league, as in former time. Upon this the Romaim gave them Cefer unto the governors for every place, that they should bring them into the land of Yehuda peaceably. And this is the copy of the Cefer which Jonathan wrote to the Lacedaemonians. Jonathan the high priest, and the elders of the nations, and the priests, and the other of the Yahudim, unto the Lacedaemonians, their brethren, send greeting. There were Sepharim sent in times past unto Onyahu, the high priest from Deravesh, who reigned then among you, to signify that ye are our brethren, as the copy here underwritten specifies. At which time Onyahu entreated the ambassador that was sent honorably, and received the Sepharim. wherein declaration was made of the league and friendship. Therefore we also, albeit we need none of these things, that we have the holy Sepharim of Scripture in our hands to comfort us, have nevertheless attempted to send unto you for the renewing of brotherhood and friendship, lest should we become strangers unto you altogether. For there is a long time past since ye sent unto us. We therefore at all times without ceasing, both in our feasts and other convenient days, do remember you in the sacrifices which we offer, and in our prayers, as reason is, as it becomes us to think upon our brethren. And we are right glad of your honor. As for ourselves, we have had great troubles and wars on every side, for so much as the kings that are round about us have fought against us. Howbeit we would not be troublesome unto you, nor to others of our confederates and friends in these wars. For we have help from heaven that helps us, so as we are delivered from our enemies, and our enemies are brought under foot. For this cause we chose Numenius, the son of Antiochus, and Antipater, the son of Jason, and sent them unto Romaim, to renew the amity that we had with them, and the former league. We commanded them also to go unto you, and to salute and to deliver you our Sepharim concerning the renewal of our brotherhood. Wherefore now ye shall do well to give us an answer thereto. And this is the copy of the Sepharim which Onieri sent. Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, to Onyahu, the high priest, greeting. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Yahudim are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. Now therefore, since this is come to our knowledge, ye shall do well to write unto us of your prosperity. We do write you back again that your cattle and goods are ours, and ours are yours. We do command therefore our ambassadors to make report unto you on this wise. Now when Jonathan heard that Demetrius' princes were come to fight against him with a greater host than afore, he removed from Jerusalem and met them in the land of Chamath, where he gave them no respite to enter into his country. He sent spies also into their tents, who came again and told him that they were appointed to come upon them in the night season. Wherefore soon as the sun was down, Jonathan commanded his men to watch, and to be in arms, that all the night long they might be ready to fight. Also he sent forth sentinels round about the host. But when the adversaries heard that Jonathan and his men were ready for battle, they feared and trembled in their hearts, and they kindled fires in their camp. Howbeit Jonathan and his company knew not till the morning, for they saw the lights burning. Then Jonathan pursued after them, but overtook them not, for they were gone over the river Eleutheris. Wherefore Jonathan turned to the Arabim, who were called the Zavadim, and smote them and took their spoils. And removing thence, he came to Damascus, and so passed through all the country. Shimon also went forth and passed through the country of Ashkelon, and the hold there adjoining, from whence he turned aside to Yapho, and won it. For he had heard that they would deliver the hold unto them that took Demetrius' part, wherefore he set a garrison there to keep it. After this came Jonathan home again, and calling the elders of the people together, he consulted with them about building strongholds in Yehuda, and making the walls of Jerusalem higher, and raising a great mount between the tower and the city, for to separate it from the city, that so it might be alone, that men might neither sell nor buy in it. Upon this they came together to build up the city, for as much as part of the wall toward the brook on the east side was fallen down, and they repaired that which was called Caphanatha. Shimon also set up Kadid in Shephalah, and made it strong with gates and bars. Now Tryphon went about to get the kingdom of Asia, and to kill Antiochus the king, that he might set the crown upon his own head. Howbeit he was afraid that Jonathan would not suffer him, and that he would fight against him. For wherefore he sought a way how to take Jonathan, that he might kill him. So he removed and came to Bet-San. Then Jonathan went out to meet him with 40,000 men chosen for the battle, and came to Bet-San. Now when Tryphon saw Jonathan came with such a great force, he dared not stretch his hand against him, but received him honorably, and commended him unto all his friends, and gave him gifts, and commanded his men of war to be obedient unto him as to himself. Unto Jonathan also he said, Why have you brought all this people to so great trouble, seeing there is no war betwixt us? Therefore send them now home again, and choose a few men to wait on you, and come with me to Akko, for I will give it to you, and the rest of the strongholds and forces, and all that have many charge. As for me, I will return and depart, for this is the cause of my coming. So Jonathan, believing him, did as he bade him, and sent away his hosts, who went into the land of Yehuda. And with himself he retained but 3,000 men, of whom he sent 2,000 into Galilee, and 1,000 went with him. Now as soon as Jonathan entered into Akko, they of Akko shut the gates, and took him. And all them that came with him they slew with the sword. Then sent Tryphon a host of footmen and horsemen into Galilee and into the great plain to destroy all of Jehonathan's company. But when they knew that Jonathan and they that were with him were taken and slain, they encouraged one another, and went close together, prepared to fight. They therefore that followed upon them, perceiving that they were ready to fight for their lives, turned back again. Whereupon they all came into the land of Yehuda peaceably, and there they bewailed Jonathan, and them that were with him, and they were sore and afraid. Wherefore all Yasharel made great lamentation. Then all the heathen that were round about then sought to destroy them. For said they have no captain, nor any to help them. Now therefore let us make war upon them, and take away their memorial from among men. Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 13. Now when Shimon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Yehuda and destroy it, and saw that the people were in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together, and gave them exhortation, saying, Ye yourselves know what great things that I, and my brethren, and my father's house, have done for the Torah and the sanctuary, the battles also, and the troubles which we have seen, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Yasharel's sake, and I am left alone. Now therefore be it far from me that I should spare my own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. Doubtless I will avenge my nation, and the sanctuary, and our women, and our children, for all the heathen that are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Now as soon as the people heard these words, their ruach revived, and they answered with a loud voice, saying, You shall be our leader instead of Yehuda, and Jonathan your brother. Fight our battles, and whatsoever you command us, that we will do. So then he gathered together all the men of war, and made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem, and he fortified it round about. Also he sent Jonathan the son of Absalom, and with him a great power, to Yapho, who casting out them that were therein remained there in it. So Tryphon removed from Akko, with a great power to invade the land of Yehuda, and Jonathan was with him in war. But Shimon pitched his tents out at Kadid, over against the plain. Now when Tryphon knew that Shimon was risen up instead of his brother Jonathan, and meant to join battle with him, he sent messengers unto him, saying, Whereas we have Jonathan your brother in hold, it is for money that he is owing unto the king's treasure, concerning the business that was committed unto him. Wherefore now send 100 talents of silver, and 2 of his sons for hostages, that when he is at liberty he may not revolt from us, and we will let him go. Hereupon Shimon, albeit he perceived that they spoke deceitfully unto him, yet he sent the money and the children, lest perchance he should procure to himself great hatred of the people, who might have said, Because I sent him not the money and the children, therefore is Jonathan dead. So he sent them the children and the 100 talents. Howbeit Tryphon disassembled, neither would he let Jonathan go. And after this came Tryphon to invade the land and destroy it, going round about by the way that leads into Adorim. But Shimon and his host marched against him in every place, wherever so he went. Now they that were in the tower sent messages unto Tryphon, to the end that he should hasten his coming unto them by the wilderness, and send them victuals. Wherefore Tryphon made ready all his horsemen to come that night. But there fell a very great snow, by reason whereof he came not. So he departed and came into the country of Gilad. And when he came near to Bascama, he slew Jonathan, who was buried there. Afterward Tryphon returned and went into his own land. Then sent Shimon, and took the bones of Jonathan his brother, and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers. And all Yasharel made great lamentation for him, and bewailed him many days. Shimon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and brethren, and raised it aloft to the site, with hewn stone behind and before. Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father, and his mother, and his 4 brethren. And in these he made cunning devices, about the which he set many great pillars, and upon the pillars he made all of their armor for a perpetual memory, and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail on the sea. This is the sepulchre which he made at Modin, and it stands yet unto this day. Now Tryphon dealt deceitfully with the young king Antiochus, and slew him. And he reigned in his stead, and crowned himself king of Asia, and brought a great calamity upon the land. Then Shimon built up the strongholds in Yehuda, and fenced them about with high towers, and great walls, and gates, and bars, and laid up victuals therein. Moreover, Shimon chose men, and sent to King Demetrius, to the end he should give the land in immunity, because all that Tryphon did was to spoil. Unto whom King Demetrius answered and wrote after this manner. King Demetrius unto Shimon the high priest, and friends of the king, also unto the elders of the nation of Yahudim, send greeting. The golden crown and the scarlet robe, which he sent to us, we have received, and we are ready to make a steadfast peace with you, yea, and to write unto our officers to confirm the immunities which we have granted. And whatsoever covenants we have made with you shall stand, and the strongholds which ye have built shall be your own. As for any oversight or fault committed unto this day, we forgive it, and the crown tax also, which ye owe us. And if there were any other tribute paid in Jerusalem, it shall no more be paid. And look who are meet among you to be in our court, let them be enrolled, and let there be peace betwixt us. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Yasharel in the 170th year. 70th year. Then the people of Yasharel began to write in their instruments and contracts. In the first year Shimon and the high priest, the governor and the leader of the Yahudim. In those days Shimon camped against Gaza, and besieged it to round about. He made also an engine of war, and set it by the city, and battered a certain tower, and took it. And they that were in the engine leaped into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city. So much so, as the people of the city rent their clothes, and climbed upon the walls with their women and children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Shimon to grant them peace. And they said, Deal not with us according to our wickedness, but according to your mercy. So Shimon was appeased toward them, and fought no more against them, but put them out the city, and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving. Yea, he put all the uncleanness out of it, and placed such men there as would guard the Torah, and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress of want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Shimon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions, and entered into the 23rd day of the 2nd month, in the 171st year, with thanksgiving, and branches of palm trees, and with harps, and cymbals, and with viols, and hymns, and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Yasharel. He ordained also that they should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Shimon saw that Yochanan his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the hosts, and he dwelt in Gazam. Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 14. Now in the 163th year, King Demetrius gathered his forces together, and went to Madai, to get him help to fight against Tryphon. When Arsaces, the king of Persia, and Madai heard that Demetrius would enter within his borders, he sent one of his princes to take him alive, who went and smote the host of Demetrius, and took him, and brought him to Arsaces, by whom he was put in war. As for the land of Yehuda, that was quiet all the days of Shimon, for he sought the good of his nation in such wise, as that evermore his authority and honor pleased him well. And as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Yaffo for a haven, and made an entrance to the isles of the sea, and enlarged the bounds of his nations, and recovered the country, and gathered together a great number of captives, and had the dominion of Gazam, and Beit Sur, and the tower, out of which he took all uncleanness, neither was there any that resisted him. Then did they till their ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. He provided victuals for the cities, and set in them all manner of munition, so that his honorable name was renowned unto the end of the world. He made peace in the land, and Yasharel rejoiced with great joy. For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to fray them. Neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. Yea, the kings themselves were overthrown in those days. Moreover, he strengthened all of those of his people that were brought low. The Torah he searched out, and every contemner of the Torah and wicked person he took away. He beautified the sanctuary, and multiplied vessels of the temple. Now when it was heard at Rome, and as far as Sparta, that Jonathan was dead, they were very sorry. But as soon as they heard that his brother Shimon was made high priest in his stead, and ruled the country and the cities therein, they wrote unto him in the tables of brass to renew the friendship and league which they had made with Yehuda and Jonathan his brethren, which the writings were read before the assembly at Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the Ceferim that the Lacedaemonians sent, the rulers of the Lacedaemonians, with the city, unto Shimon the high priest, and the elders, and the priests, and the remnant of the people of the Yahudim, our brethren, send greeting. The ambassadors that were sent unto our people certified us of your glory and honor, wherefore we were glad of their coming, and did register the things that they spoke in the council of the people in this manner. Numenius the son of Antiochus, and Antipater the son of Jason, the Yahudim's ambassadors, came unto us to renew the friendship that they had with us. And it pleased the people to entertain the men honorably, and to put the copy of their ambassage in public records, to the end the people of the Lacedaemonians might have a memorial thereof. Furthermore, we have written a copy thereof unto Shimon the high priest. After this Shimon sent Numenius to Rome with a great shield of gold and 1,000-pound weight to confirm the league with them. Whereof when the people heard, they said, What thanks shall we give to Shimon and his sons? For he and his brethren in the house of his father have established Yasharel, and chased away and fight their enemies from them, and confirmed their liberty. So then they wrote in the tables of brass, which they set upon pillars in Mount Sion. And this is the copy of the writing. The 18th day of the month Elul, in the 163th year, being the 3rd year of Shimon the high priest, at Saramel, in the great assembly of the priests and the people and the rulers of the nation and the elders of the country, were these things notified unto us. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the Torah, Shimon the son of Mattathiah, of the posterity of Yariv, together with his brethren, put themselves in jeopardy, and resisting the enemies of the nation, did their nation great honor. For after that Jonathan, having gathered his nation together and been their high priest, was added to his people. Their enemies prepared to invade their country, that they might destroy it and lay hands on the sanctuary. At which time Shimon rose up and fought for his nation, and spent much of his own substance, and armed the valiant men of his nation, and gave them wages, and fortified the cities of Yehuda, together with Beit Sur that lies upon the borders of Yehuda, where the armor of the enemies had been before. But he set a garrison of Yahudim there. Moreover, he fortified Yaffo, which lies upon the sea, and Gazam that borders upon Ashdod, where the enemies had dwelt before, but he placed Yahudim there, and furnished them with all the things convenient for the reparation thereof. The people therefore sang the acts of Shimon, and unto what glory he thought to bring his nation, made him their governor and chief priest, because he had done all these things, and for the justice and faith which he kept to his nation, and for that he sought by all means to exalt his people. For in his time things prospered in his hands, so that the heathen were taken out of their country, and they also that were in the city of David in Jerusalem, who made themselves a tower, out of which they issued and polluted all of the sanctuary, and did much hurt in the holy place. But he placed Yahudim therein, and fortified it for the safety of the country and the city, and raised up the walls of Jerusalem. King Demetrius also confirmed him the high priesthood according to those things, and made him one of his friends, and honored him with great honor. For he had heard say that the Romaim called the Yahudim their friends and confederates and brethren, and that they had entertained the ambassadors of Shimon honorably. Also that the Yahudim and the priests were well pleased that Shimon should be their governor and high priest forever, until there should arise a faithful prophet. Moreover, that he should be their captain, and should take charge of the sanctuary, to set them over their works, and over the country, and over their armor, and over the fortresses, that I say he should take charge of the sanctuary. Beside this, that he should be obeyed of every man, and that all the writings in the country should be made in his name, that he should be clothed in purple, and wear gold. Also that it should be lawful for none of the people or priests to break any of these things, or to gainsay his words, or to gather an assembly in the country without him, or to be clothed in purple, or to wear a buckle of gold. And whosoever should do the otherwise, or break any of these things, he should be punished. Thus it liked all the people to deal with Shimon, and to do as had been said. Then Shimon accepted hereof, and was well pleased to be high priest, and captain and governor of the Yahudim and priests, and to fend them all. So they commanded that his writing should be put in the tables of brass, and that they should be set up within the compass of the sanctuary in a conspicuous place. Also that the copies thereof should be laid up in the treasury, to the end that Shimon and his sons might have them. Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 15. Moreover, Antiochus son of Demetrius the king sent Cefer to the isles of the sea unto Shimon the priest and prince of the Yahudim, and to all the people. The contents whereof were these: King Antiochus, to Shimon the high priest and the prince of his nation, and to the people of the Yahudim, greeting. Forasmuch as certain pestilent men have usurped the kingdom of our fathers, and my purpose is to challenge it again, that I may restore it to the old estate, and to that end have gathered a multitude of foreign soldiers together, and prepared ships of war. My meaning also being to go through the country, that I may be avenged of them that have destroyed it, and made many cities in the kingdom desolate. Now therefore I confirm unto you all the oblations which the kings before me granted you, and whatsoever gifts besides they granted. I give you leave also to coin money for your country with your own stamp. And as concerning Jerusalem and the sanctuary, let them be free, and all the armor that you have made, and fortresses that you have built, and keep in your hands, let them remain unto you. And if anything be, or shall be, owing to the king, let it be forgiven you from this time forth forevermore. Furthermore, when we have obtained our kingdom, we will honor you, and your nation, and your temple, with great honor, so that your honor shall be known throughout the world. In the 114th year went Antiochus into the land of his fathers, at which time all the forces came together unto him, so that few were left with Tryphon. Wherefore, being pursued by King Antiochus, he fled into Dora, which lies by the seaside, for he saw that the troubles came upon him all at once, and that his forces had forsaken him. Then camped Antiochus against Dora, having with him 120,000 men of war, and 8,000 horsemen. And when he had compassed the city round about, and joined ships close to the town on the seaside, he vexed the city by land and by sea, neither suffered he any to go in or out. In the main season came Numenius and his company from Rome, having Cefer unto the kings and countries, wherein were written these things: Lucius, consul of the Romaim, unto King Ptolemy, greeting. The Yahudim's ambassadors, our friends and confederates, came unto us to renew the old friendship and league, being sent from Shimon the high priest, and from the people of the Yahudim. And they brought a shield of gold of 1,000 pounds. We thought it good therefore to write unto the kings and countries, that they should do them no harm, nor fight against them, their cities or countries, nor yet aid their enemies against them. It also seemed good to us to receive the shield of them. If therefore there be any pestilent fellows that have fled from their country unto you, deliver them unto Shimon the high priest, that he may punish them according to their own Torah. The same things wrote he likewise to Demetrius the king, and Attalus, to Ariathes, and Arsaces, and to all the countries, and to Sampsames, and the Lacedaemonians, and to Delos, and to Minas, and to Sion, and to Encaria, and Caria, and Samos, and Pamphylia, and Lycia, and Halicarnassus, and Rhodus, and Ardis, and Cos, and Side, and Side, and Aridus, and Gortina, and Gortina, and Snidus, and Snidus, and Cyprus, and Cyrene. And the copy hereof they wrote to Shimon the high priest. So Antiochus the king camped against Arad the second day, assaulting it continually, and making engines, by which means he shut up Tryphon, that he could neither go out nor in. At that time Shimon sent him 2,000 chosen men to aid him, silver also, and gold, and much armor. Nevertheless he would not receive them, but broke all the covenants which he had made with him before, and became strange unto him. Furthermore he sent unto him Athanabius, one of his friends, to commune with him, and say, Ye withhold Yapho and Gazam, with the tower that is in Jerusalem, which are cities of my realm. The borders thereof ye have wasted, and have done great hurt in the land, and got the dominion of many places within my kingdom. Now therefore deliver the cities which you have taken, and the tributes of the places, whereof ye have gotten dominion without the borders of Yehuda. Or else give me for them 500 talents of silver, and for the harm that ye have done, and the tributes of the cities, other 500 talents. If not, we will come and fight against you. So Athanobius, the king's friend, came to Jerusalem, and when he saw the glory of Shimon, and the cupboard of gold and silver plate, and his great attendants, he was astonished, and told him the king's message. Then answered Shimon and said unto him, We have neither taken other men's lands, nor held that which appertains to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time. Wherefore we, having opportunity, hold the inheritance of our fathers. And whereas you demand Yapho and Gazam, albeit they did great harm unto the people in our country, yet will we give you 100 talents for them. Hereunto Athanobius answered him not a word, but returned in a rage to the king, and made report of him these speeches, and the glory of Shimon, and all that he had seen, whereupon the king was exceeding wroth. In the meantime fled Tryphon by ship unto Orthashah. Then the king made Sendebius captain of the seacoast, and gave him a host of footmen and horsemen, and commanded him to remove his host towards Yehuda. Also he commanded him to build up Kidron, and to fortify the gates, and to war against the people. But as for the king himself, he pursued Tryphon. So Sendebius came to Yabneel, and began to provoke the people, and to invade Yehuda, and to take the people prisoners, and slay them. And when he built up Sidro, he set horsemen there, and a host of footmen, to the end that issuing out they might make outroads upon the ways of Yehuda, as the king had commanded them. Makkabiym Ri'Shon, chapter 16. Then came up Yochanan for Gazam, and told Shimon his father what Sendebius had done. Wherefore Shimon called his 2 eldest sons, Yehuda and Yochanan, and said unto them, I and my brethren and my father's house have ever from my youth unto this day fought against the enemies of Yasharel, and things have prospered so well in our hands that we have delivered Yasharel oftentimes. But now I am old, and ye, by Elohim's mercy, are of a sufficient age. Be ye instead of me and my brother, and go and fight for our nation, and the help from heaven be with you. So he chose out of the country 20,000 men of war with horsemen, who went out against Sendebius, and rested that night in Modin. When they rose in the morning, and went into the plain, behold, a mighty great host both of footmen and horsemen came against them. Howbeit there was a water brooks betwixt them. So he and his people pitched over against them. And when he saw that the people were afraid to go over the water brook, he went over first himself, and then the men seeing him pass through after him. That done, he divided his men, and set the horsemen in the midst of the footmen, for the enemy's horsemen were very many. Then sounded they with the holy shofars, whereupon Sendebius and his host were put to flight, so that many of them were slain, and the remnant got them to the stronghold. At that time was Yehuda, Yochanan's brother, wounded, but Yochanan still followed after them, until he came to Kidron, which Sendebius had built. So they fled even unto the towers of the field of Ashdod, wherefore he burned it with fire, so that there were slain of them about 2,000 men. Afterward he returned into the land of Yehuda in peace. Moreover, in the plain of Jericho was Ptolemy the son of Abubus, made captain, and he had abundance of silver and gold, for he was the high priest's son-in-law. Wherefore his heart being lifted up, he thought to get the country to himself, and thereupon consulted deceitfully against Shimon and his sons to destroy them. Now Shimon was visiting the cities that were in the country, and taking care of the good ordering of them. At which time he came down himself to Jericho with his sons, Mattatyahu and Yehuda, in the 117th year, in the 11th month, called Shevat. And there were the son of Abubus, receiving them deceitfully into a little hold, called Dok, which he had built, made them a great banquet. Howbeit he had hid men there. So when Shimon and his sons had drunk largely, Ptolemy and his men rose up, and took their weapons, and came upon Shimon into the banqueting place, and slew him, and his 2 sons, and certain of his servants. In which doing he committed a great treachery, and recompensed evil for good. Then Ptolemy wrote these things, and sent to the king that he should send him a host to aid him, and he would deliver him the country and cities. He sent others also to Gazam to kill Yochanan. And unto the tribunes he sent Cefer to come unto him, that he might give them silver and gold and rewards. And others he sent to take Jerusalem and the mountain of the temple. Now one had run before to Gazam, and told Yochanan that his father and brethren were slain, and uttered he, Ptolemy has sent to slay you also. Hereof when he heard, he was sore astonished. So he laid hands on them that were come to destroy him, and slew them, for he knew that they sought to kill him. As concerning the rest of the acts of Yochanan and his wars are worthy deeds which he did, in the building of the walls which he made, and his doings, behold, these are written in the chronicles of his priesthood, from the time he was made high priest after his father.